Hello everyone, this is Shrikante and welcome to the journey of exploring the meaning of human existence. Now today we are going to be asking the big questions like what is the purpose of life and how do different philosophies answer that. Now let's get started. Now a lot of us live out beliefs that are handed to us like by our culture, our parents or even our communities. But we rarely stop ourselves to ask this question. Now, do I really believe this? Now, philosophy gives us the tools to explore that question and maybe even redefine the path. Now, let us begin with impliciticism, which is deeply inspired by Plato. Now, this worldview says life is about growth through learning. It also means seeking knowledge to better understand reality to ourselves. But there's a flaw over here. Now, if all we value is knowledge, we risk becoming emotionally distant. But the solution is to balance it out with emotional intelligence and empathy. Now, true wisdom comes with from both mind and heart. Next, we have Stoicism. Now, the main message is to become wise, endure suffering, and it encourages strength, self-control, and even action even if the life is tough. Now, this philosophy builds resilience, but sometimes at the cost of emotional connection. Now, a Stoic might be seen as unfeeling or distant. It is very powerful indeed, but needs empathy to be complete. Now, cynicism. Now, cynicism is basically says mind the self. Now, it teaches independence from society norms and material desires. You don't need approval from this. That can be liberating, but taken too far, it can promote selfishness too. Now, we aren't meant to live in the isolation, but the challenge is to stay true to yourself without losing sight of community or moral growth. Now, next comes hedonism. Now, hedonism focuses on happiness. It says, be happy now. Let your emotions guide you. That is not necessarily a bad thing. It brings joy and helps us become more aware of our feelings. But there's the problem. If a pursuit of happiness comes at the expense of others or long term goals, it might not be virtuous. Are we choosing momentary pleasure over deeper purpose? Well, that's a really tough question. Now, next comes Epicureanism. I hope I pronounced that right. But it basically teaches that life should be free of pain and suffering. Well, it sounds really nice, right? And it also values calm and peace. But again, there's another problem with this. But growth usually requires discomfort. So suffering can stretch us and make us feel better. And if we're always avoiding pain, we might even avoid the growth and maybe it might even limit our potential. Now, let us revisit Stoicism. Now, this time with a focus on action. Now, it helps us stay grounded and get things done, especially in chaos. But remember, people aren't machines, they're human beings. Now, without empathy, we can miss out emotional realities and push others away. And the best path might be to combine stoic strength and with emotional understanding. Now we come to classical liberalism. Now, this philosophy defends individual and social freedoms like the freedom of speech, thought, and identity. Now, these are important values, but they also come with a risk. Now, what happens when freedom is used to promote harmful or hateful ideas? Who decides what's acceptable? Well, that's a really messy question. Well, we all value the freedom, but freedom also has its limits, and those limits aren't usually clear. So, as we have seen throughout these slides, no philosophy is perfect. Well, each one gives us something to think about, but they also have their own blind spots. Now, the big takeaway here is this: what kind of life do you want to live? What values do you want to stand on? Happiness, strength, independence, peace, freedom, or virtue? Well, philosophy isn't about having all of the answers, it's about asking the right questions. Now, you can take a moment to pause this video and talk it with your partner. Okay, now it's your turn to reflect. And yeah, thank you for watching and have a nice day. Bye.